beautiful, beautiful fog over our iconic Harbour Bridge. Good morning everybody, and I'm Lance Priestley. I'm a homeless guy in Sydney, and Mel has for some reason or another chosen to do a day in my life, and I'm going to give you perhaps a gutter eye view of what Sydney is like, through the eyes of a homeless guy, right?
I want to ask you a couple of questions that are related to the Life in a Day project. So the first question is about, what is it that you love?
What is it that I love? I love the aspiration of the better world that we all know is possible. And I love the pursuit of it. And in pursuing that better world that we know is possible, I've come to recognise that maybe the journey is more important than the destination, and how we build that journey.
And what is it that you fear?
What do I fear? You know, I knew that question. I just knew that question was going to roll out, and I'm having trouble answering that. Fears. I don't understand the concept.
I like that. So you don't have any sort of fear of the future or anything on a personal level?
One of the reasons I decided to become homeless, I'm probably the only person in Sydney that decided to become homeless and willfully became homeless, is that it puts you in a position where you got nothing to lose. 3 years ago, doctors told me I had 3 months to live. And I just went, you reckon? You know? And I don't fear death. You know? So it puts you in a position where you got nothing to lose. You know? And I live life like that. And if I die, don't care. Well, I used to say back in the 70s, I'm not here for a long time, I'm here for a good time. You know? And I've had a good time for a long time.
And the other question I wanted to ask is, if you could change something about the world, what would it be?
I'd flatten the curve structurally. So in architecture, the strongest form that we can build in is unequivocally the pyramid, the triangle. I've come to the realisation that it's also the weakest form of society. And every time we've recognised that society or a business or whatever has become so toxic that it has to be done away with, overthrown, replaced, whatever. Ultimately, society's done that. But the mistake society has made is that they've then emulated that very same pyramidal structure. Now, what's in my pockets? Hang on, I'm lighting my smoke first. Because someone told me that shy people feel much more comfortable when they're smoking, so I'm smoking now. What's in my pocket? I have a drink bottle. Curiously, I carry this drink bottle everywhere, and I rarely remember to fill it up, so that when I'm actually thirsty, it's usually empty. And I've just realised that it's empty now. What else is in my pocket? I carry very little. Of course, I carry my smokes. They're a fairly essential part of life, but these are the tools of my trade.
And what are those there?
Must have a mobile phone. And for those of you who are looking back in the future, I wonder what communication devices you'll be talking and communicating through. You'll probably have chip implants or whatever, but this is what we use in 2020. This This one is what they were using circa 2017 or 2018 as well. It's quite an old one. And this, because we homeless people don't have your regular power supply, this is a U-Boot power pack that gives me the ability to use my phone just as much as I like, whenever I like, and yeah, that's what's in my pocket.
And how many of those power banks do you usually carry around?
I carry 2 of them. They fully charge, and with normal usage they give me about 3 days supply. For the average person, they probably find they like 2 of these, one of these batteries lasts them a week. But I get an extraordinary bit of mileage out of my phones, as you'll see as this video progresses.
How's your coffee?
Hey, coffee's awesome, and this place, right? This place that we have, this is St. Pat's in Grosvenor Street in Sydney.
Yeah.
Now, St. Pat's do absolutely the best breakfast that's available for homeless people or for anybody. Refugees can come down here, what have you, right? But it's the best breakfast anywhere in Sydney, to the extent a friend of mine used to be the head chef at the Four Seasons Hotel, and I used to put up photos of the breakfasts here when we were at Tent City. And my mate said, wow, that's better than we serve up. So the next week I brought him up here, and he said, yeah, that's better than we serve up. Yeah.
Wow.
So, that's some compliment. But this is the only place that when we had a 24/7 kitchen in Martin Place on Saturday morning, we had a really skimpy breakfast, right? So that we weren't taking guys away from this. Because if we were taking guys away from this, they would have had no reason to exist, they would have shut it down. Martin Place was never going to be forever.
Yeah.
And this place has done this for a long time, and they've done a really good job of what they do. So here we're about to show you this absolutely wonderful best breakfast in the world. It's better than the beautiful ambient atmosphere here. Every Saturday they do this, and every Sunday. Hi there, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Good, thank you. And can I have toast?
Yes, certainly. How many? 2?
2.
Yeah. And
A bit of bacon.
not at all.
That's ham, actually. Yeah.
Yes, 2.
That's all right, thank you. And these beautiful hash browns.
Brown, yeah, fresh from the oven, yeah.
Just one, thank you.
This is
And eggs. And awesome. Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
eggs, yep.
And awesome of you people to come down and do this. Thank you so much. And, this morning, we've got bacon here. Is the bacon halal today?
I don't think so.
What's bacon?
Yeah. And
2 sausages?
yes, they. And thank you for coming and doing this. Hey, how are you? Thank you for coming and doing this. And
some sausage. Yeah, thank you.
that's so nice. And I've got to have some of this rice stuff. No, leave that for somebody else. And I've got to have some of this rice stuff. That is awesome. And once again, thank you for coming and doing this. That's not a bad breakfast,
Yeah.
And this is the only place. This is the only place that when we had our 24/7 kitchen, we slowed our kitchen down so that we wouldn't take people away from this. And when you see the quality of this, the ambience of this place, you understand exactly why.
Want some rice?
Thanks so much. Do I need sauce? I need mustard. Do we have chili? No chili. Okay, mustard.
And how long have you been coming here for?
How long have I been coming here? I can't remember when I first came. Maybe 15 years ago.
Wow. It's a long time. So the place that we're at right now, it's a church?
It's a church.
Yep.
It's part of the Catholic Church.
Yep.
And I'm not overly enthusiastic about endorsing the big church-based organisations in the main, because most of them dangle marginalised people out as takers to collect money with. And I absolutely detest that. Here, it's all about service and it's all about heart. And I suspect the entire congregation's like that here. And you can see the consideration in the way they plan things. And now it's a balance of consideration, balancing it with COVID compliance, you know.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit about the social distancing that's going on here?
Yeah, so, you know, here they're trying to apply the 1.5 rule across seating arrangements and all that, and they've got the space to do it. So it's one of the few places that has actually been able to implement social distancing, and it's because they've got such a big space to do it.
Yeah.
So typically, the protocols that are being applied are social distancing, mask up.
And we've got this sign here in front of us,
Yeah,
which you can see.
yeah. And there you go, camera. Yeah. So, and social distancing is really important, but there are other compliances as well. Everyone's complying with it in some way or another. Some more effectively than others. The main thing here is, look, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, right? The guys are cold, right? We're talking about COVID here. There's lots of other things that homeless people are far more susceptible to than COVID. Yeah, all the cold-related illnesses, the very simple illnesses, the flu and all that, and extrapolation to that are things homeless people actually die of in large numbers all over the world. Yeah, and this place addresses that. Is our Federal Reserve for Australia. So this is where all the money decisions are made, and we're on the corner of Marketplace and Phillip Street, and so we're just going to go over here. And this is the space that we call the Marketplace Homeless Space. And it's absolutely and utterly about dealing with the end results of what the Reserve Bank and all the bankers, you know, Marketplace might be Australia's Wall Street. And this is absolutely and utterly where we deal with the end results or the collateral damage, as it were, of Australia's financial policy as we provide services to the homeless community. Now, if you come forward and pan down here, this is the upmarket seating area and the ubiquitous milk crate. Milk crates are so indelibly associated with homeless people and with what we do. Now, for those people that think that homeless people hang around Marketplace 24 hours a day waiting for whatever, no. At this time of day, it is this absolutely bleak area like this on a weekend, and it's a normal business district in the daytime. But at night, we'll be back tonight to show you what goes on here. So over in Rockdale here, so this is in Wall Street, and this is our Street Kitchen's go-to supplier of all this sort of stuff you see behind me. If you just pan across that, right? Takeaway containers and all that, they're absolutely amazing suppliers for us. And yeah, this is Wall Street for your Street Kitchen people, WALZ Street. It's called Shop and Save if you pan up onto that sign. And we're here at the moment because we need some more takeaway containers, and I'm going in to get them. What do you think?
You're funny.
Yeah, so here we are. So this is our current mode of transport. This is Mel's car, and we've just gone out and got these 2 boxes of well, these are the takeaway containers that you'll see being served up at the Street Kitchen later on. This is the sort of day I have, you know. I guess it's I guess it's a thing that I'm filmed while I'm being filmed while I'm filming myself, because you know what, this phone's in my hand a hell of a lot of the day, and a lot of people don't see just how disconnected I'd be without this phone. A lot of the stuff I do is actually by phone, and you know, we've got people flying around all over the place, all over the country. So yeah,
Open.
I'm going to go.
Hey.
Hi, Sophie. And Sophie's headed up our clothes with dignity, or yeah. And we're just down here borrowing a gazebo off them for the Street Kitchen tonight. Thanks, Sophie.
No probs.
So here we are at my mate's place in Paddington, and yeah, he's a wonderful guy. And but he gets home from time to time, and he rings me up and he says, "Lance, why is there all this stuff in my front yard?" Because you know, in the ideal world, this balcony would be clear. All this stuff here belongs to the various projects that we do. At this time, is largely the Street Kitchen. But yeah, and let this be a warning to all my friends: don't tell me where you live, don't tell me you have a garage, and don't tell me where your kitchen is. Okay? Because this is what it's liable to look like. Okay?
All right.
And,
Everything.
Yeah, and yeah. So anyhow, we're around here because I've got to do a quick analysis of what we've got. Coffee Brigade stuff here, we've got Blanket Patrol stuff here, and we got Street Kitchen stuff, and so we've got a few extras as well. So I just have to go through in the next 15 minutes and put Humpty Dumpty back together again. G'day everyone, and look, it has been an absolutely hectic day. So hectic that we haven't got a lot of footage of it. But you know what? We've just run the hugest Blanket Patrol, Coffee Brigade, 24/7 Street Kitchen safe space service in the rain in challenging conditions that that we could possibly be expected to under these COVID conditions. And you know, at this juncture, I need to say that we're not charities, but we're community, and we're doing this when all the government departments and all the major charities that are funded to the tune of millions of dollars to do what we do are actually shut down. You know, if it wasn't, there are a few other groups like ours around, and if it wasn't for those in mutual aid groups, what would people who actually have nothing do? You know, that's one of the takeaways I'd like people to think about going forward, you know. And I think I'd like people to look at that you know, I always think that we have to re-evaluate the organisations that we trust and the communities that we trust. And I do ask people to re-evaluate ours on a regular basis to make sure that we are still holding to the same values. And I want people to hold our kitchen, to hold our blanket patrol, and to hold the other spin-offs, Coffee Brigade and all that, to the same values that we have now. Because, you know, the best auditors in the world aren't people that sit in accounting offices, right? Because they actually practice broadsheet accounting.
Can I ask a question? Could you briefly explain like what the Street Kitchen, Blanket Patrol and Coffee Brigade are?
Yeah, look, they're basically autonomous communities that service marginalised people. You know, we're rough sleeper facing, we're homeless facing. That does not mean that we feed homeless people, that we provide services to homeless people. And the reason for that is we provide services to anyone who needs them. And that might include, in recent times under COVID, that's included asylum seekers, that's included international students, that's included Australian students as well. Just to name 3 demographics, there have been quite a few other. We also actually get food in via our networks to people who are COVID isolating, and we've developed our own particular methodologies around that to keep our people safe. You know, now we're not funded to do any of this, right? We crowdsource everything, and we don't have an office, we don't have paid staff, we don't have a base even. Because, if we have a base, then our base is Martin Place. We've got a couple of other street kitchens, we've got a couple of drop-off points, but at the end of the day, everything that comes through us is contributed by someone, including the time. And, I want to give a huge rap to our contributors, to the people that do the work, that makes Blanket Patrol, that makes our street kitchens, and that makes the Coffee Brigade and the other entities that we have. I'll explain about those in a minute. And when I say the other entities, they're actually non-entities. We're communities. The fact that, yes, we're rough sleeper facing, but we'll serve anybody that needs services. Look, even somebody who drives a Porsche, they might turn up there in a $5,000 suit. We've had very, very senior politicians turn up to be polite, making dickheads of themselves, inebriated. And, okay, I'll use one example. When this particular politician turned up, everyone knew that I've got no time for his politics and all that. And they came and they said, Lance, so-and-so's here, so-and-so's here. We've got photos and all that. Go over and give him a rev. And you see, we can't do that. I asked them immediately, those photos would have possibly cost that politician his seat. Right? And I would so love to see him lose his seat even now. But I ordered everyone to delete those photos, because in the same way as we afford our homeless community and our service side community privacy, everyone that comes there deserves to be treated equally. And that's what I mean by equality. We're non-judgmental at the kitchen. And if I saw him down the street, I'd I'd be hooking into him. Make no mistake about that. But while we're operating as the kitchen, while we're operating as Blanket Patrol, while we're operating as the Coffee Brigade, we can't preach unconditionality or equality and then have different rules for different classes of people. I just flatly refuse to do that. And I don't care if someone turned up there with a $750,000 bling necklace. You know what I mean? I don't care. You know, we're not going to judge her by that.
Yeah.
You know, they get a coffee just like anyone else. If they demand any extra services, or expect that we're going to treat them with any more deference because of some status that everybody else gives them, I'm not interested in that either. You know, if other people want to accord them a status that's higher than they accord anybody else, go for it. That's your choice to make. But with us, when we say equality, we mean it. When we say unconditional, we mean it. And there are a couple of other things. We also try to set the next level of transparency. And transparency is a huge issue around groups because, you know, people giving clothes away, they're often dismayed when they walk past a major charity shop and they see what they've given away being sold for $100, whatever. You know, be it clothing, be it furniture, but stuff that they've contributed in the hope that it was going to end up with some person who needed it. Yeah, and they didn't, I'm sure, envisage that it was going to end up with some person who needed it on the condition that they had the money to pay the often exorbitant charges that these shops make. So when people contribute to us, we make one commitment only. It will not be sold. Actually, we make another commitment as well. And I do apologise. You know, we've had a really tiring day, and I'm fairly tired. And in fact, when I get out of this car, I'm probably going to go to sleep on the footpath. No, I'm joking. But I, when we make that commitment to transparency, that if we're telling people that what they give us is going to go to a particular target constituency, then that's the target constituency it goes to.
Sorry, I'm just trying to...
Yeah. And if it... when we tell people that it will never be sold, on my... 1,000%, it will never, ever be sold by anyone that we partner with. And that's a condition upon which we partner with other groups as well. If we know that they sell stuff, we have nothing to do with them. Yeah. So by working that way, we place an onus on we do partner with other groups. For instance, there's a group down in Adelaide called Williams Wardrobe, and we looked at what they were doing and we said, well, they're doing so well as far as blanket patrol goes that sometimes it's not necessary to reinvent the wheel when we can just polish it. And they had no capacity to raise money for sleeping bags and all that, and we did. So we ended up looking and saying, oh, you know what, they're pretty much like us, so we'll just give them sleeping bags. How about that? And then because what we're about is coming up with methodologies that respond to the needs of the people of the rough sleeper and homeless target constituency. That's our primary aim. And still having said that, if other people need those same things and we're providing them, we're going to provide them to them. And we have to be non-judgmental. But that's basically in a nutshell how we work. And this wouldn't be possible without a huge community out there that are first off concerned about the issues we're concerned about. And second off, that community must be fairly upset with the way things are to come over to our way of doing it. And by default, I think they're recognising that the status quo, and to give you an insight, if you're looking from somewhere else in the world, the status quo in Australia, in the last 12 months, we've had droughts, and all the major charities and the government went, oh, what do we do about that? And sat back and watched. So we set up a thing called Dignity Water, which you'll find a page for on Facebook. Right? We set up a thing called Dignity Water, which was by far the biggest supplier of drinking water to some of the biggest shires and municipalities in the world. Right. Two of those shires, the Central Darling Shire and Berkshire, are among the top 5 by land area in the world. Right. And we were the major suppliers of drinking water to them, and a few other shires as well. Now, people need to ask themselves, how is it that we can do that with no money except what we crowdsource, and do it over a period of more than 12 months, and do it with no experience operating in the area? And if we can do that and do better than what the charities, the NGOs and the major government departments, who get millions and millions of dollars, and yet we can go out there with nothing and do better than they can, why aren't they doing better than they are? That to me is one of the compelling questions. But anyhow, those charities that after the droughts were as the droughts were still on, we had some of the biggest wildfires Australia's ever seen. Those charities raised around $50 million and $20 million, and look who's counting. It was tens of millions of dollars raised in the name of the bushfires. Right? I've heard the figure 200 million, 240. Don't care what the figure was. But it was squillions as far as we're concerned. So they've still got that money, and a lot of those bushfire victims are still sitting in tents. Why is that? And why is it that this is allowed to happen? We're supposed to have charity watchdogs in this country, and I suspect, like a lot of the other watchdogs, the charity watchdogs are asleep at the wheel. So, we have a choice. We have a choice of actually begging the government to do something that's in keeping with what the public want, or we can just go and do it ourselves. And, there are so many things out there that really need our attention. At the moment, look, we focus on homelessness, but we focus on it after the fact. By the time people end up on the streets, what we do is akin to parking the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. And I don't pretend that it's not necessary to park the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff and pick those people up. Of course it is. But what's more necessary than that is to build the fence at the top of the fucking cliff, to stop them falling down in the first place. Now, when you look at government strategies and NGO strategies, And if you come from a business background, you would think that their methodology would work something like this, that they'd go, well, Earth, we have a problem. Let's find the people who can come up with a solution, bring this team together with the best proposal that will reach a solution that's acceptable to the target constituency. And it's very important that it's acceptable to the target constituency. Otherwise, we might end up doing what Hitler did, just imposing what we want on groups that haven't been consulted. That's bullshit, you know. And unless we've actually asked them, how are we going to know what any target constituency either want or need? Too often, I've seen the solutions, or the false solutions, often costing billions of dollars, put up by someone who's got a university degree or 2 or 10, but no lived experience. You know? And I'm not asking people to think that, you know, for a minute, that it's necessary to have lived experience of brain damage or cancer in order to fix them. Of course not. But in general, when people have problems, at the beginning, they know how to get themselves back on the other side of the fence. You know, just ask them, and they'll tell you what's missing. And a lot of the people that come to Martin Place, to our community, they spend a little bit of time with our community, and they go, "Ooh, we get free food there." Right? And sometimes that's enough for them to then jump back on the other side of the fence. I imagine a better world that's possible. Right? What we do, I imagine that people will look and say, "Ooh, that's simple." And you know what? We've got the same problem in our area, wherever it is in the world. You don't need to listen to the words. You don't even need to understand the language. Just watch the videos and understand the concept. The things that you need are willing people that I see that there's a problem and think that somebody should do something about it, and understand that there's somebody. And people with the capacity to help do something about the problem. We need people that aren't going to be asking government, "Dear nanny state, please do this for us." If you march with 50,000 people, it doesn't matter if you march with 500,000 people. If they're asking dear nanny state to do something, they're begging. And I'm sorry, we can just go out and solve it ourselves. I use the theory of the sandpits, right? So these guys, these government guys and all these billionaires and all that, so they play in the sandpit over here. And we're standing around that sandpit and we go, "Ew, look at this. Ew, no, ew." But you know what? We're still shoveling more sand in, right? Every time we do something, we're still shoveling more sand in, and they're building the sandpit higher and higher, and that sandpit's getting luxurious, right? And we're still standing outside filling that sandpit up. That's what we're doing by contributing our energy, right? That's what we're doing by contributing our work to them. Right? But what if we all said, ew, we don't like that sandpit. Ew, look at that. Ew, look at them guys. Ew. And so instead of filling their sandpit up, Or instead of begging them, why don't we just build our own sandpit? And why don't we build it in a form that people will find so attractive? They'll say, nah, we like that sandpit over there, let's go and play there. Right? And can you imagine if this concept took hold, right? And suddenly they've got no one playing in their sandpit and everyone comes and plays in ours. What I'm talking about, everybody, is, we live to this notion that, oh, it's so toxic, we have to fight it, we have to destroy it. But I don't think we have to do either of those. And I spent a long time fighting them. Right? I don't think it. I think the time's past to fight them. I think the much smarter strategy that's available to us at the moment is to build better alternatives that attract people and build stronger communities and exclude them and exclude their structures. And we need to understand where the fundamental problem is. That fundamental problem is the way we construct our society. And I mean, if you look back through history, the Romans got overthrown, the Greeks got overthrown, the Phoenicians, everyone. Eventually, they built this society and someone overthrew them, or their people rebelled against them. In the cases where their people rebelled against them, usually, by the time their people rebelled, they rebelled because they were getting shit on. That much. That their people were about to drown in shit and the leaders didn't actually notice. So people just overthrew these guys. They made one fundamental mistake every time. They looked at how these guys had organised themselves, and they'd always organised themselves in a pyramidal power structure with these leaders at the top. And so the next crew come along and they emulate that pyramidal power structure. And I think it's corny, that you would think, well, their leadership was so toxic, but if we put our leadership in 3 or 4 generations' time, it's going to be so very different. That to me. Well, Einstein said something about repeating the same process and expecting a different result, and I think that's absolutely and utterly applicable in this case. Yet humanity has done it again and again and again. We need to learn from that fucking mistake, right? And we need to build our societies so they're not pyramidal. And that means, I'm talking from the COVID era, and one of the popular phrases now is flattening the curve as far as COVID-19 goes. We need to flatten the curve as far as power structures go, so that we don't have these people sitting at the top. And in a way, that's what our street kitchens are a rudimentary model of, because we don't want them to get too big. We don't want them. We have within our group, we have blanket patrol, which spun off from the street kitchen. We have the coffee brigade, which spun off, and these are demonstrations of how one might construct a society going forward, or more precisely, deconstruct a society so that you've got these various elements that interact with each other and come together to form something that's absolutely wonderful. But each of them is a totally autonomous unit, and if one of those autonomous units goes bad, all we've got to do is replace that unit, rather than having to replace the whole society. The other thing is, there's a predisposition with groups like NGOs, churches, what have you. They'll let a group build itself up over here with its pyramid, and they're sitting back and going, hee, look what they're building over there, hee. Look, they've still got that little control thing, they've still got those little people at the top, and they're, well, they're nice people and all that. Guess what? They're going to die. When they die, we can just put some people in at the top and control all those people below it. Isn't that neat? If you happen to want to take control of something. So when we build, we need to build so that, all these ones that are looking in from outside, they look and they say, oh, hang on, this looks like that. What? Oh, how do we take it over at the top when there actually isn't a top? If you go back to the Occupy movement, so Occupy, I mean, you all think about your democracy and all that, and and your voting system, and you got 51 first past the post or whatever. Occupy thought they knew everything about consensus. But I think most of the Occupy people fail to understand the depth. There's a time and a place for consensus. And there are some decisions, like, for instance, when you've got the riot squad coming at you 400 metres away. I'm sorry, we don't have time for consensus. We've got to make sound decisions and make them now. Otherwise, we're going to get a lot of our people hurt. And, we need to build resilience. And that resilience needs to be flat, so that we don't have that pyramid, we don't have that power structure. I've totally lost fucking track of what I'm saying now. You can go through that and just figure out what makes sense and all that. So the Blanket Patrol story. Look, Blanket Patrol started with a discussion between Paul and I back in 2016. And we put a page up and we tossed a few ideas around, and I'm juggling I don't know how many things at the time, and Blanket Patrol is one of those ones that fell on the ground. Now I'm busy keeping all these other balls up, right, and I got a sore back, and I just looked and said, hang on, Blanket Patrol fell on the ground, hang on, if I bend down and pick Blanket Patrol up now, I'm going to risk dropping all these other balls that are staying up. And hang on, Blanket Patrol isn't actually working. Okay, leave it there. Keep juggling. Keep all these other balls up. One day we might actually work out how to make Blanket Patrol work. And we just left it lying there, and then we had Tent City and a whole lot of other things. And then one day we looked at Blanket Patrol again, and we said, oh, maybe it'll work this way. And within 18 months of changing its methodology, Blanket Patrol's rolled out all over the country now. Within 18 months. And, my takeout from that is, first off, success is built on a mountain of failures. That mountain of failures are those balls that I juggle and drop. Everyone sees my successes and our community's successes. Very few people see the failures. But I'm looking at those failures all the time. And those are my learning blocks. And if you don't accept the lessons of those failures, and also if you don't treat them as failures, you say, well, that didn't work that time. Maybe it'll work like this. Maybe it'll work like that. Or maybe I'm just the wrong person. Or I've got the wrong team. But there's usually something about that idea that gives us the potential to work. The other thing that's really important is you can have the best idea in the world and the best team in the world. But you know what? It won't work if its time hasn't come. And, you know, the timing is often as important. You know, you can have the best laid plans, and you can put them up at an inopportune time, and they fail, so they fail then. That's not failure. That's not failure. You know, I think in context, I'd call it failure if I did something and I killed a few people, or a few thousand people, or a few million people. That to me would be failure. Or I killed a significant area of environment for nothing, or for capital gain. For me, that's failure. It's failure to understand our place on the planet. Because, you know, a lot of people think of me as a social justice advocate, and I get called that on daily. And I go, okay. And, you know, people try to pigeonhole me, and they try to put me into boxes. Right? And you know what? If that's what they want to do, if they want to they call me a liberal, a greenie, an anarchist, a neo-Nazi, whatever they want to call me, if that's their perception, yeah, they're entitled to their perception. Go for it. I'm down with that. I don't have the time to work out where I am on that spectrum, because the first thing I understand about myself is I'm human. And I'm still coming to an understanding of my place insofar as our sentient relatives on this planet go. So no, I don't think of myself as a human rights activist. I don't think of myself as a social justice advocate. I more think of myself as a sentient rights advocate, because if we aren't cognizant of the needs of not only our humanity, but everything else that's sentient on the planet, then ultimately our greed or our sense of superior entitlement will kill those things that is necessary for us to survive. You don't want that, neither do I. But having said that, you know, and I'm aware of many of the problems that go on all over the world. I'm not pretending, I'm not vain enough to even propose that I might be cognizant of the majority. But I'm aware of very few things that are going on around the world. You know what? I really do understand that there are some significant issues out there. Do you know what? I'm not going to look over the heads of fucking people that are sitting right in front of me. I'm not going to look over their heads to do something about a problem 3,000 miles away or 5,000 miles away that I have a lesser understanding of. I'm going to clean my backyard up. Wherever I am, I'm going to fix the problems that are straight in front of me. And then I'm going to expand out, if I ever manage to fix the problems that are straight in front of me. And it just so happens that, I don't know, I must be like a problem magnet. Yeah? I just stand there. I mean, I don't do very much at all. I spend most of my time on the phone. Right? I mean, I run around and do a few minor things like I did today.
Minor things.
But, you know, I must be a problem magnet, because I just stand there and all these fucking problems come to me.
Because everyone knows that you're going to help them.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I'll wear that. I'll wear the problem magnet. And you'll see, this is my life. You know, you must think, oh, this guy's so busy. No, 80% of my life is, you know, I mean, I often wonder whether one day we'll reach the stage where there are wedding ceremonies for people in their phones. Yeah. And this phone, yeah, I often refer to her as my wife. Right? Because I spend more time with her than I do with anyone. I seriously do. And you know, interestingly, she probably knows more about me than any human.
Does your wife have a name?
Yeah, Sexy. Yeah.
iPhone Sexy.
Yeah.
Look at you, absorbed with your precious Sexy.
See, I'm distracted by her already. I'm supposed to be talking to you. Go to sleep now. Good girl.
I swear to God, that's like everyone's relationship with their phone. And each night, here you go, I put you in the charging bay.
But except, you know, and I mean, you know, most people know by now, so I'm just going to say anyway, you know, I've got 11 kids at least that I know about, hey? And, you know, they're all to different mothers, which probably means I've separated from at least 11 partners in my life. Well, you know what? Once again, I come back to my phone. She wants to go to sleep. No, hang on, just one more post. Yeah? Oh, hang on, I'll check that email. And then I want to go to sleep. And she goes, bleep, bleep. Oh, shit, what was that message about? Now, see? You know, and so, you know, this.
Do you have like all 11 of your kids like contacting you and?
At least once every 2 months. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. From every single one of them?
Oh, well, there's a couple that have passed away, so they're not contacting me anymore.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and actually, just yesterday, one of my grandkids and one of my great-grandkids got killed in a car accident in Brazil. But, you know.
Oh, God. I'm really sorry to hear that.
You know, death is just part of the cycle of life. And, you know, one of the things that really confounds me is the attitude of people who are religious to death. You know? And I just don't get it. So they say that there's heaven or Valhalla or whatever the hell it is that's blasphemy. But, you know, wherever it is they go afterwards, those that believe in an afterlife, they say it's such a wonderful place. And yet all of them are so sad when people die. Shouldn't they be happy? Eh? Their friend's going to this place. You know, they're pretty sure their mate's going to go to this place. Eh? Well, I'm here to tell you something. Back in, what was that? A couple of years ago now anyway. I ended up in hospital. And I was flat on my back. I couldn't move and all this shit. And the doctors told me that I had 3 months to live. Because I had then and I have now, I've got stage 4 cancer. They said, oh, you've got 3 months to live. And I think, you know, there was this mad bit of chat, there was this argument. Like, it was like an argument between between the industrial relations manager of a major corporate, you know, and that was probably the guy upstairs, and the union, and the union were probably represented by the guy downstairs who most people think of as the devil. Oh, it might have been the other way around, I'm not quite sure, but I guess the devil was down there and, you know, St. Peter was up there, and both of them were going, ew, I'm not having him. And the other one's going, hey, I'm not having him either. So,
And so that's why you're still here.
so, you know, I mean, you know, even in the afterlife, I'm homeless. You know? Well, yeah, just what the hell, eh? You know? I mean, you know, how much more homeless can you get, eh? You know? You're not wanted, you know, you're not wanted anywhere. Yeah. I don't know. But whatever it is, you know, what a life.
And you're such an amazing person. So we want you here for every second, every hour, every minute.
Yeah, you know, I've got no particular plans to go anywhere. But having said that, you know, if I have to die, I've got absolutely no fucking fear of it. You know, just don't care. I absolutely don't care. And if it's worth dying for, I'll die for it. You know, and you know, there are several things that I consider that most people think, oh, what a waste of his life. Hey, I just about died when I was 18. There was a kid that stepped out in front of a bus, and the bus was going pretty fast. And I was pretty fast too, and I looked, I said, fuck, that bus is going to hit that kid. I shoulder charged the kid and knocked him over, and I felt the bus would have been doing about 60, 70 k's. I felt that bus brush me as I rolled, unfortunately on top of the kid, and I broke the kid's arm. Right? Now the coppers wanted to charge me with aggravated assault.
Kidding me.
Right? And the kid's mother was using all sorts of four-word expletives to explain to them why they shouldn't. So they wanted to arrest her too. And the bus driver got off and he said to the coppers, look, mate, if this guy didn't do what he did, I would have killed that kid. There was nothing I could do to stop the bus. And you weren't there to stop the bus. Right? And the ambos were actually abusing those cops. And, you know, if I died doing that, I could rather die doing that than accidentally walking out in front of a car. You know, that would be an absolute, you know, I mean, yeah, if that bus had taken me and given that kid more life, I don't care. And same thing. And it's even more so now.
I feel like that's a good analogy for like what you do now, like with the kitchen and the brigade and the blanket patrol and all these different people that you've been supporting.
You know, a lot of people know, a lot of people don't know. But look, I live on the streets. I live on the streets 100% of my time. You know, the only time I get to be off the streets is when I sit in other people's cars getting filmed. Yeah, but you know, I'm probably one of the few people in Australia that's homeless by choice. And let me tell you a few things about homeless by choice. Now, there are a lot of people who say, oh, but if I ask a homeless person if they want to be homeless, they say yes. Right? And that's true. A lot of homeless people do say yes. But they're answering a different question to the question that most people think they're asking. You know, it's not a simple yes, it's a qualified yes. In this sense, the question the homeless person is answering 9 times out of 10 is, given the current circumstances and the current choices available, would you prefer to be homeless? And the question, they're answering it in the context of, well, the income that I've got available, if they've got an income available at all, is not enough to pay the exorbitant rents that exist in Sydney and most of Australia. And support them. They clearly understand that they can't afford to rent a house. So yeah, they'll live on the streets. If you change the framing of that question and you ask them if the settings were changed, and if you ask them in what circumstances would a house suit you, I think you'd get a much more concise answer. You won't get the same answer out of every homeless person. You won't even get the same group of answers. But I think you will get a much more concise answer that tells you that, given the choice, they wouldn't be homeless at all. I'm different. I would make the choice to be homeless for as long as there are other homeless people. Because my plan, I haven't succeeded yet, but my plan is around ending homelessness. I believe that it's achievable, it's possible in Australia, it's possible globally, if you have the right hands on the right settings at the right time. We haven't reached that point yet. I think it's necessary to do it on a national basis, and I'll tell you why. If we did it on a local body, i.e. Sydney basis, and we were so successful at it, all the homeless people from the rest of New South Wales would come pouring into Sydney. If we did it for New South Wales, all the rest of the homeless people from the rest of Australia would come pouring into New South Wales. So the logical thing is we have to do it for all of Australia. But we have to start at a position where we measure the problem. We say, okay, we think it's this is a problem-solving methodology. Right? Here's what I would do. Right? I'd say, well, if we have a problem, hang on, we'll get it, we'll twist it, we'll go, and we think we know, after twisting it, turning it, biting it, churning it, whatever, we've got a fair idea what's going on there, and asking the people that are affected by it. Very important to ask them, right? But so we think we know what it is. Right? We've got fairly good modelling. Now comes the part where we say, okay, here's the problem. Here we think it's this, right? So now the game plan is to find this point in time where we can reduce that problem until we reach that point in time where there's no problem. Right? And that's what I call a zero problem solution. Right? And unless we're aiming for a zero problem solution, which means that the organisations, instead of getting bigger as they do now, the organisations that are working on the problem, there's no need for them to exist because the problem doesn't exist. Okay? Unless we work to that methodology, we'll never solve any problems, because the methodology that's being used now is you got these CEOs of these NGOs and these lobby groups and all that. And hang on, what's the interest? What's the interest of the CEO? The CEO gets rewarded for growing his business. And what's marketed to everybody else as a problem, it's not a problem for him. For him, it's a solution to how he grows his business. So he don't want the problem to go away. What? You want to? Can you imagine a CEO that jumps from one organisation to the other because he's getting more pay at the other one? Can you put him up? And he goes to apply for this job, right? At the bigger NGO that's paying the bigger bucks, and he puts his hand up and he says, well, at my last job, I dried up the rivers of gold. You think they're going to give him a job again? Everyone's going to go, no. Now, what? You dried up those revenue streams. Yet, you know what? That's exactly what we should be rewarding management and senior management for if they're dealing in areas that are problematic. We're looking at this the wrong way. Hey, yeah, we're rewarding these guys for making the problem worse. Hey, what? Hey, yeah, shouldn't be.
Yeah, it needs to be the other way. Every
we
time you
be
solve a problem, you should be getting a fun.
You solve
like,
the problem. You
rewarded
solve the
for it.
problem. Yeah, you should have 10 jobs coming at you.
Yeah.
Instead of everyone saying, "Oh no, he dried up the funding." He dried up. No, because and you got the bureaucrats that will be going, no. Look, he'll kill our jobs. He killed the jobs over there. You got the politicians going, "Oh no. Hey, look, so and so had that department over there. That department don't exist anymore. Hey." Because he solved all the problems. Well, no, we don't want him. Hey,
It's bizarre.
hey, and yet this is what we're conditioned to think is normal. These people that, we think, oh no, they're solving, they're dealing with those problems, but are they? Or are they just monetising them? And when I say are they just monetising them? Are they actually just dangling marginalised people out and marginalisation issues out as tokens to collect money with? And if they are, then I class those people as among the most despicable on earth. How dare you take off somebody that has nothing? Or even, how dare you take dishonestly in the name of something that can't even speak, like a whale or a tree?